Pressure, stress, and problems on every hand.
Shout out to 845. Oh, buddy, I got another book author in the building, y'all.
Ain't shining no more. You may not know what to do and feel like there is no you. Feel like the storm will move, but you gotta press through. You say that joy comes in the morning, but the sun is not shining. Gotta have faith in God. What you're dealing with will soon pass away. It's gonna get better than this. Things are looking so much better.
I got the beautiful Miss Glenda in the building, y'all. This is going to be an amazing interview. Trust me.
You got to know. You got to look to the hills from where it's coming. Your help just call His name. He'll come to your rescue. It'll be over soon. You got to trust that it will get better. God will do for you, no matter what it is.
Make sure you guys tune in, y'all. Reporting Live 845.
Around for you. Come on and put those hands together. If you know that it's gonna get better.
The beautiful Jasmine Parker with Better Days. Shout out to the hottest online radio station in Hudson Valley. Reporting Live 845, straight 845 radio, building our own from the ground up. Tonight's special guest is the beautiful Miss Glenda Faison
Yes,
Crawford. Oh my, I said that right?
you did.
Oh,
You did.
look at me. Miss Faison Crawford, she is a pillar in the community. She is a mother. She is a wife. But most importantly, she's a book author. And I am so excited about the book that we're going to be talking about tonight and all the things, the jewels that she's going to drop and help us as parents. She's going to help us help someone else, if not ourselves. So before we start the show, Miss Glenda, do me a favor, tell the people who you are and a little bit about yourself.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Again, my name is Glenda Faison Crawford. I am a teaching assistant in the Newburgh School District. I grew up as an Army brat. My father was in the military for over 29 years. So I lived in Europe 8.5 years of my life.
Wow.
Probably 6 or 7 different states. And when I came back to Newburgh in the 90s, I wanted to give back what God gave me and my experiences. So I'm a wife. My husband, Vince, and I in October will be married 15 years.
Oh, yes.
We have a beautiful daughter, Alexandria. She's 12. And I'm just blessed.
First of all, congratulations. Let me just start right there. Congratulations on your marriage and your longevity. You know, you don't see that nowadays. So 15 years is like... In our day,
right.
Like what? 15 years. So congratulations
Thank
for you, and especially being an African American couple. Definitely salute to you guys on that. So Army brat.
Yes.
How many states you in?
How many states? Let me see. Colorado, Texas, Kentucky, North Carolina, New York, and we did a couple of those like 2 or 3 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, you know, everybody thinks it's easy when your parents is in the Army. Tell us about that experience, traveling state to state, new friends, new schools, new everything. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
You know, it's looking back on now, it was a blessing. But I have to admit, growing up, it was tough.
Right.
Because every 3 years, you had to pick up and move and meet new friends.
Right.
So I was always the new girl at school.
Right.
So that's why I tell students, you know, when you see a student sitting by themselves or somebody new coming in, greet them, make them feel welcome.
Comfortable.
Yes.
Now, were you ever in schools where you were the only minority?
No. The beautiful thing about being in the military is such a big, diverse, multicultural. You know, I have been in settings where I have been the only African American, but pretty much growing up, it was always interracial, multicultural
community. And you being in the Army and you being in these different schools and these different settings, was it hard for you to adapt?
At times, yes. The beauty of it, people, you hear that cliche, oh, it's a small world. It is, because I remember leaving Newburgh and going to Germany. And I walked in the classroom and this girl said, I know you. And I said, I know you too. And we actually knew each other in Kentucky.
Really?
Yes. So you do get to see sometimes your circle of friends again.
Come back around.
Come back around.
Now, as a child, though.
Yes.
And as a child and teenager, preteen, we go through all these changes.
Yes.
Was as emotionally and physically and mentally, how was it for you as a child in these different settings? Of course, you got friends and you're adapting, but your mental, your physical, how did you feel? What was the experience like?
It was tough at first. My mother did everything possible. For the first 10 years, I was an only child.
Okay. Ooh.
So that was kind of tough, being lonely at home and then trying to make new friends, trying to fit in. And I truly believe that's why I'm so crafty and gifted in the arts, because she put me in everything to keep me busy.
So you wouldn't be lonely.
So I wouldn't be lonely.
And I must say that, and people really take that lightly. You were 10 years old before you had your first sibling.
Right.
Do you recommend people have more than one child?
I would be hypocritical.
Well, here we go, Miss Crawford.
If possible, yes.
Right.
Yes, if possible. I only have one. I married late. I had a child late, and I didn't know if I could have a baby. But
right.
I would say if you could possibly, it would be
nice. At least have two.
At least have two.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, being around the world and being all these experiences, and now you're a teacher.
Teaching assistant.
A teaching assistant. What's one thing that you have learned about youth that maybe us parents have not know? We don't notice, but you've noticed going through it, and then now you're teaching and helping teaching.
I've noticed since I've been in education, and I have to catch myself on it. A lot of times we don't listen, and we often think we already know what they're going to say ahead of time. And I'm guilty of it. I see my child looking at me from the corner of my eye.
Look at you, Mom. You better answer this right.
And youth want to be heard.
Right.
And so we get on them because their listening skills. There's so many, we didn't have all these electronics in this technical age. We knew what it was like to put something in the oven and have to wait for it.
Right.
I remember going through the microwave, instant. But we fuss about youth not listening, but a lot of times they don't know how to listen because we don't listen to them.
Right.
So I would say definitely I've learned how to stop and listen.
Now, what is your career path right now? What did you choose as a career?
It's funny because when I first went to college, I wanted, my major was communication.
Okay.
And I really wanted to be a sportscaster.
Really?
I did.
That's kind of dope. That's different. I would never have thought that.
Yeah, my entire family was into sports. I loved Hannah Storm, Robin from Good Morning America. Yeah.
That's your homework, too.
Yeah.
I see you, Miss Brenda. Okay.
So, I loved those ladies back in the day, and
right.
I really admired them. Life just takes you on a different path.
Absolutely.
And so my mother told me, she said, but I always knew you wanted to teach because you would set your dolls and your stuffed animals up on the bed and teach them. And I'm like, really?
But you don't remember that?
Oh, very little. Very little. Because I played a lot of sports.
Right. Oh, what was your favorite sport?
My favorite sport was volleyball.
Really?
Yes.
And what's your least favorite sport?
My least favorite sport for me to play is soccer, but ladies, I'm happy y'all won.
You see us out there. Now, so you decided to be a teacher. And then in your course of teaching, how long have you been a teaching assistant?
21 years. I just finished 21 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. In the same
school district.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Shout out to Newburgh.
Yes.
Now, what came about? What was in you? What was the build up to make you say, okay, I need to write a book?
I had been writing stories probably forever. Listen, snail mail. We used to write a lot of letters back in the day.
Right.
But in high school, I would write just these little corny love stories. I had this one friend. She was always getting into trouble. She's like, let's go to the bookstore. I'm like, why are we going to the bookstore? She said, because I know I'm going to get on restriction. I'm going to get on punishment. So we would get all these Harlequin romance stories. And I'm like, I could do this.
Right.
And so I started writing, giving them out to my friends in between class periods. And they're like, oh, this is good. When are we going to continue? I was like, I don't know. I have homework just like you.
Right.
But some years ago, a friend of mine, her name was, can I say her name?
Absolutely.
LaVon Grant.
Mm-hmm.
She was in a serious domestic violence relationship.
Okay.
And she was shot 5 times.
Oh, my God.
And
she survived, correct?
She survived.
Thank God.
Last time I talked to her, she tours the country talking about her experience. And she wrote a book. And I said, LaVon, I've been thinking about writing. I said, but a lot of people have been telling me no when I send things into magazines. And she said, how many no's have you gotten, Glenda? I said, probably about 6 or 7. She said, try 40-something no's.
Right.
She said, so that's no excuse.
Okay.
So the manuscript sat on my computer for like 10 years out of fear.
That you were going to get those no's.
That I was going to get those no's.
Well, hypothetically speaking, how many no's did you get? Did you get 40?
I did not get 40.
Thank God.
I know.
Thank God. How many do you think you got?
I probably about maybe 8 to 10.
That's nothing.
That's nothing.
Because it was destined to happen. That's simple. Simple a solution.
Yeah.
Now, I'm kind of curious.
Mm-hmm.
Because this looks like a children's book.
Yes.
But I heard you say you were writing romance novels and things like that when you were in high school.
Right.
Why the shift?
Probably because of the population that I work with.
Okay.
I am in elementary. And, but it's part fact and fiction about my life growing up.
Okay.
So, just advice of just doing my homework and meeting different authors. They kind of tell you, write what you know.
Right.
So I said, you know what? Let me write about me. Let me write about those, you asked about tough years, middle school, transition into middle school is tough.
Right, absolutely.
So, one night it just came to me. God just gave it to me and I just began laying it all out.
And let it flow.
Now,
the name of the book that we're going to be discussing today is The Adventures of Pumpkin Jackson. Now, let's talk about this. First of all, why the name?
Pumpkin. My husband calls me Pumpkin.
Oh.
and when we got married...
Black love, y'all. Black love.
Orange is my favorite color.
Okay.
And when we got married, I remember waking up one morning and I'm like, what am I going to do for a theme? So I went to the store early that morning and they had these beautiful banana leaf baskets and they were in the shape of a pumpkin. And I said, I'm going to do an autumn theme.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, God, give me a name. And then I just remember say Pumpkin Jackson. And Janet Jackson is my favorite entertainer.
So you put your favorite color, your honey boo boo sweetie pie's favorite name, and then your favorite person. And okay, so this book is really a real life book for you.
It is.
Because it's really dear to you. Now, let me see what's back here, going here. Miss Glenda has cleverly written an imaginative creative book jammed with tips to help tweens and teens. Tweens and teens.
The tweens, like that 10 through 12.
Yes. And then the teens, 12 and up.
And 12 and up.
Now, how old is your child?
She's 12.
She's 12. And she's a female at that.
Ooh, yep.
Now, what is it right now? Because, it's 2019, Miss Glenda, and between the age of 8 and 16-year-olds, it's not the 8 and 16-year-olds. Back at, every year they're changing.
Yes.
What is the one thing that parents are missing right now with their tweens and teens that you see? Besides the listening, that we're missing right now, because as we see, we're in a state of emergency with our youth.
Yes.
So what do you see?
I think we're definitely, it's a big technical age that we have to keep up with.
Right.
My daughter tell you, I'll call her, I'm like, oh, can you help me with my Twitter? If you need something a youth can probably work it better than an adult.
Right.
And I think we just have to keep up with the age
Of what's going on today.
of what's going on today.
Now, you were a teen, and you were a tween,
Mm-hmm.
and you had that hard transition from, elementary to middle school. You had that, have you ever been bullied or ever had a bullying experience?
Yes.
Ooh, so you've experienced some of these things. What advice can you give parents when their child is going through these things?
My daughter and I talk every single day.
Every day?
Every day. We
Okay.
talk every day. From the moment she gets in the car or comes home, we talk. And I'll give her that time. How was your day?
Mm-hmm.
Did anything happen today? Let's just talk.
Right. Now, pause right there, Miss Glenda, because we got to take this step by step.
Uh-huh.
Now, you got a lot of children that don't feel that comfortability talking
Yeah.
to their parents.
Right.
So how did you build that with your daughter to make her so comfortable to talk to you?
I'm going to be honest with you. My mother and father been married 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother had me at 17.
Ooh, okay.
So she built a very close relationship with me. She was young. And she'll admit, she says, listen,
Mhm.
for my husband to look at him like a husband, like a father, she said he stepped up, but yet she went through a transition so early in life.
Right.
So I just learned from her.
Okay.
The advice I can give to parents is, change is not easy, but if you want to make a change, you got to do something different
Right, than what we've been doing.
than what we've been doing.
Now, is it hard raising a little girl?
It is. It is, because things that we didn't even talk about to maybe I was 13, 14 years old, I've got to discuss with her now.
Now, right.
I mean, and I don't mind shielding my child from certain things. People are like, no. Well, guess what? I want her to be a kid.
A kid.
I do. And I think sometimes we push them too quick.
Right.
Just because society's doing it doesn't mean that we have to do it.
Right. Now, Miss, you're in the school district, and I have to ask this for what's going on right now, because I personally feel, and I'm a parent, that they're introducing our children to a lot of stuff that they don't need to know.
Mm-hmm.
Things like the LGBT community, and I feel like they're making kids question their sexuality and things like that they don't even know about, but those are the things that we have in our school.
Right.
You being in a school district, what is your stance on that, per se?
I'll just tell any parent that you have a right
Mm-hmm.
to raise your child the way you want your child to be raised.
Okay.
Whether it be your moral, your faith, your spirituality, whatever you're going on, if you feel that's not appropriate, you have that right as a parent to stand up and say, no,
I don't want that.
I don't want that taught. And for me, I'm going to be the same way. I'm not going to teach your child, introduce your child to something that I'm not comfortable with.
Beautiful. We need more like you in the school, man.
Yeah.
We definitely need more like you, because they teach our kids anything these
Anything.
days. Well, thank you, baby. That's right. You give it up for Miss Glenda. We don't want her to learn anything. Now, Miss Glenda, The Adventures of Pumpkin Jackson.
Yes.
Let's get to this book. What is this book about?
This book is about a young girl named Pumpkin.
Mm-hmm.
She's coming from into a new military base, into a new school.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, she's uncomfortable. First day of school, she's been through this several times. Her name is Pumpkin.
Mm-hmm.
So she knows the kids are going to laugh as soon as they hear her name.
Her name, yep.
And a lot of our children have names that are different.
Right.
And we have to be careful that we don't make children feel uncomfortable because they have a different name.
Right.
And that happens a lot too.
Well, do you think parents should be mindful what they name their children?
I think they should, but at the same time, who am I to
Tell you what to do
what
and
to
what to
name-
name your child.
Something you might think is beautiful at age 20, you might get to age 50 and say, why did I do that?
Right. And then when you fill out an application or something like that, it's even harder for
There
you.
is a stigma at times attached to it, yes.
Now, so Pumpkin, she's going to this new school.
She's going to this new school, and she's in 5th grade, and she goes into the class, and the class is spread out in teams, and they're seating. And there's a group of girls called the Challengers.
Okay.
Now, the class has team names, but it's only supposed to be for class.
Right.
But this group of girls, they take it further. They're known as the challengers around the entire school.
Okay. Okay.
And so Pumpkin realizes right off, this group of girls,
It's not for me.
it's not for me.
Okay.
And so she rallies the other youth to stand up for themselves in a positive manner.
Now, are the challengers, would we consider them bullies and people that pick on people?
Yes.
Now, you're in the school district. How often do you see bullying?
Bullying does occur. I can say that schools are stepping up.
Okay.
You know, I know Newburgh has a big bully prevention program. Each school, they must introduce it. They must come together. So I am seeing a lot more of it. It's, you know, you have cyberbullying.
Yes. Yes.
Bullying in school. There's 3 different places parents might not realize that bullying goes on. There's the playground.
Okay.
Where they have a little bit more freedom.
Mm-hmm.
At lunch,
Mm-hmm.
we let them talk and laugh, but somebody might say, I don't want you sitting beside me. You can't sit at this table.
Right.
And then there's the bus.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So parents will come in and say, hey, this happened to my child. Why didn't you stop it? But we might not have seen it because it happened on the bus.
On the bus.
When we go to lunch or for monitoring
The playground, right.
playground or cafeteria, we might not hear it.
Right.
So
That's where kids get their most leeway
yes.
to take over. Now, personally, have you been in a situation where you had to intervene on a bullying situation?
I have.
And what was your what was the steps that you took?
Well, we've been trained now that you don't always have to sit the bully and the victim together to
Okay.
separate them.
Okay. Okay.
And that's to protect the victim.
Okay.
We've also been trained, we've tried to train the kids that, step away from the bullies. People get pumped up, when they have a crowd around them, but if you take that circle and you push it back towards the victim, the bully's kind of standing there alone.
Looking stupid.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
right.
So, we've just been trained that when we see a situation and there is security in school, it doesn't happen as much in the elementary level that it does on the secondary level.
Mm-hmm.
But again, just separate the children, bring them into the office or take one to the nurse, and then we just get the stories and take it from there.
And take it from there.
Yeah.
Now, your personal bullying experience, because again, and I'm glad we're talking about this because there's children that have actually killed themselves over
Yes.
this bullying.
Yes.
When you were being bullied, what was the mental in your mind going on?
Well, I had 2 situations. One in 6th grade, I remember I was following a crowd, and we were picking on this one girl. And so I remember one day we made her cry, and I felt horrible.
Within yourself?
Within myself, because I knew I wasn't raised like that.
Right.
And also in the military, if you constantly get in trouble, your parents' company commander gets called.
Ooh, you
Yes.
didn't want that problem.
No.
You didn't want them issues. We want a lot of issues, but not those issues.
Not that issue. So very few military children
Got in trouble.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the following year, I became really good friends with this girl.
Okay.
And then she moved away. And then I was lonely. And I really think that lonely period was God teaching me, do you like this?
Right, because this is how you made others
This is how you made her feel.
Okay.
So I learned early from that. Now, when it happened to me later on, I was like, how am I going to handle this? And I was a little bit older. And then finally, one day, I just had to stand up to the person and say, listen, you better leave me alone.
And when you stood up to that bully, they didn't want to go further?
They did, and we fought.
Ow! Get him, Miss Glenda! And you better have one.
I did!
Ah!
That's not what I'm teaching.
But, right, you had to stand up for yourself.
I had to stand up for myself. And we didn't have the things that we have implemented now.
Right.
It was the only way that I knew how to handle it.
Now, who handles to you bullying the worst? The tweens or the teens?
I would say the teens.
The teens.
The teens, because now I've seen youth go from straight arguing to fighting to killing.
Yes. Yes.
There's no in between. I mean, it's kind of scary. There's a serious communication gap, you know, and it just breaks my heart. We just had a killing not too long ago
Absolutely,
in our
yes.
community, you know, and so I think, you know, of course there's gang activity, but I'm not even going to blame it all on the gangs. I think we just don't know how to communicate, and I don't know if that's a failure on us that we haven't taught our youth how to communicate. You know, you're not going to like everybody.
Right.
I'm 51 years old. I don't like everybody, but I have to respect people.
Right.
You know,
Now,
I have to work at it.
Miss Glenda, because you're a parent, and you know, again, it's 2019. Parents like you are not the same now in the new decade.
Right.
It was a time where the village really raised everyone.
Absolutely.
You know, and if your daughter did something, I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna tell you what I did to her, and when she get to the house, she gonna tell you what I did, and you gonna pop her because you already knew before. You know, we don't have that no more.
No.
So it's like it's being promoted more so. The fighting, the bullying, through not even so much through the youth anymore, through the parents.
Absolutely.
So when you were going through this, did parents really get involved back then?
Like you said, parents really got involved. If my neighbor saw me doing something, she corrected it.
Right then and there.
Right then and there, she told my mother. My mother's name is Betty. She's like, Betty, and my mom was like, thank you. You know better.
And you didn't talk back.
You didn't talk back.
Right.
You stopped it. You just knew there was this hidden rule that there's a line, there's a boundary you don't cross. But now if you have a parent who has grown up without those lines and boundaries, I always say little bullies just grow up to be big
bullies.
That's it.
Raising more little bullies.
You know.
What would your advice be for parents that are that lost that connection, or don't have that line, or that moral, you know, that moral integrity line right there, or standard line, let's say?
First of all, they have to recognize that they don't.
Right.
Because a lot of people don't want to recognize that there is an issue here.
Right.
But I truly believe once you have, it's okay to ask for help.
Right.
Whether it be from your church, whether it be for someone at school. Schools have psychologists, they have social workers. Orange County has a lot of programs. And you have to be careful about how, like I have to be careful about how I live my life, my witness, because you never know when somebody is looking at you.
Absolutely.
So you'll be surprised how people might not even tell you, but they're looking at you like, how do you handle this? And you have to step up and ask someone.
So Pumpkin comes and she rallies up the youth to stand up for themselves.
Right.
Did she fight in this book?
She does not fight. She goes to a teacher. She changes her seat. And as she begins to talk to a couple of other girls, and she actually pulls one of the challengers tolerates the other girls, but she's not like them.
She's not like them.
So her and Pumpkin become close.
And she leaves the challengers?
Yes. And so they go to the teacher, and they let the teacher know what's going on. And the teacher says, wait a minute, I know about them. They've been in trouble before, but they promised not to do it again. And so she speaks to the teacher, and the teacher begins to find out, you know what, this is on a bigger scale.
Right.
That these youth have affected more people. And you find that out sometimes, that, wow, it's not just my child, somebody else is dealing with this too.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, this is amazing, and I think this is really good for right now. How do you think that we can all come together? Parents, the community, the guidance counselor, the teacher, the police. Like, how can we all come together as adults first to really get this right with these teens and these tweens?
I've been to forums. I've been to a couple. We've been to forums. We have to find out what the kids want.
Right.
And I think that's a good place to start. Because sometimes we'll have a big meeting. There's no youth there. We're just fussing, and we're like a hamster in the wheel going around again. But we have to go out and ask them, what do they want? What do they need? growing up, I remember we had DYAs, and they were called Dependent Youth Activity Centers.
Right.
And you could play sports there. I think the fee was like $5 a month. And they had pool tables there. They had a stage. They had a kitchen. It was a place where the youth went to hang out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You had adults running it. And the kids knew it was a safe haven. We had dances where we would invite other youth from other communities. So to me, that was normal. But then to move and not have that, I was like, wow, well, what do the kids do?
Right, where do we go?
Where do we go?
Right.
So something that was reality to me is, you know, like a fantasy to some other child. They're like, what? What's that? Never heard of it. We need to have more places where the youth can hang out. And they have to be taught, listen, if something occurs, you got to know how to handle it. You got to communicate.
Right.
It's okay if somebody bumps into you.
Right, or steps on your sneaker.
You know,
you don't have to, everything is not an uproar and a violence. Exactly. I appreciate that. And with Pumpkin becoming friends with one of the challengers and telling the teacher, what actually happens to the group of girls?
The group of girls, they get spoken to,
mm-hmm.
they get reprimanded, and they get separated. They get separated, that they actually get put out of the school. They're going to be separated to different schools.
Wow.
Now, again, that, you know, that might not always be the reality.
Right.
But it's teaching you that we're not going to tolerate it here.
Absolutely. So, with this, how long has this book been out, Ms. Crawford?
2015.
Ooh. Well, I don't know why I'm just hearing about this, and I know you longer for a little bit, Miss Crawford. What's the problem? But how many pumpkins right now do you know?
I'd probably say I know. I've raised a pumpkin.
You're right.
I've raised a pumpkin. I probably know about maybe 20 pumpkins.
20 pumpkins.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you? If you could say something to your pumpkins right now, what would you say to your pumpkin Jacksons?
I would say keep being strong.
Mm-hmm.
You don't always know who you are until you have to stand up for something.
That's right.
And it's okay to make mistakes. We all have made mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And just find somebody that you can trust. Find somebody, preferably it would be your parent. But,
Absolutely.
you know, I don't like to go against any parents, but if there is a situation, find somebody that you can talk to. And just remember, if you want friends, you got to know how to be friendly yourself.
Right. And be open-minded. Now, mental health, it's real.
It's real.
And we as parents like to brush things under the rug when it comes to our child, or call them crazy. Sometimes maybe even give medicine because we just want, what do you want to say to parents as far as mental health with the tweens and the teens?
Well, I work with special needs children.
Okay.
So I kudos to any parent that has to deal with special needs children every single day. You know, some are higher on the spectrum than others.
Absolutely.
Mental health is nothing to be ashamed of.
Okay.
And when you have to face it, and you have to get help.
That's it.
You have to get help.
So it's no more putting it under the rug. It's no more hiding it.
You can't, because again, they grow up. Children grow up.
That's right.
And hormones are real.
Mm-hmm.
I tell my daughter, she's not embarrassed by this, but I say, hey, mommy was a late bloomer.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with being a late bloomer, because sometimes we push youth to grow up so fast.
Too fast.
We see things on TV. We want to look like Beyonce.
Right. When our kids be perms and makeup. Too much.
On top of that, that's enough to get a child depressed and have anxiety. Right now, we have youth that have anxiety.
Yes.
Anxiety attacks.
Yes.
So mental health is real, and I'm not in the medical field, but the best thing I can tell any parent, anyone, is to seek help. There's a lot of help. Orange County services, even your local schools can help you.
Fix that issue there. You know what? I appreciate you for that. And one more thing I want to, as a parent, as with your experience and your knowledge, and of course with this, with what's going on with Pumpkin and his book, police.
Yes.
What can you say about the youth interaction with police and how we can do better with that as well?
Growing up in the military, we always had the MPs, the military police, at the gates. And so it was natural for me to see police in neighborhoods, being younger, see the police walk the beat and interact. If you want our community to be comfortable, then we must be made to feel comfortable.
Yes.
There's always going to be bad people in any occupation. I don't care what occupation it is. But I think for the most part, the police, they're here to protect and to serve. And so we have to communicate with them. They have to communicate with us. And I tell my daughter, don't be afraid of the police. They're there to help you. Be respectful. To be honest, our males, we have to teach our black males how to interact in a different way.
Absolutely.
I have brothers. I have a husband. They have encountered things that, and a lot of our churches have taught our males how to act when you've been stopped or when things happen. But I truly believe, I do see the police in Newburgh trying to work with the community more.
Right, getting involved.
Mayor Harvey, he's been trying to interact, have them interact with the community. When we just had our Illuminated Festival, they were wonderful.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, they were coming around. I seen they were playing with the youth. And they need that.
Absolutely.
And when they see that, they're like, wow, hey, not only is that a male that I can attain to be, because a lot of our boys in class, what do you want to be when I grow up? Oh, I want to be a cop.
Everybody, that's everybody think, I want to be a cop.
I want to be a cop. So I think if police knew how much their occupation is admired,
right,
they would be like, wow, you know what? We need to go in and speak to these young boys and girls.
Right.
Yeah.
Ms. Glenda, I must say to you, although you dropped this in 2015, you said?
Yes.
Although you dropped this in 2015, I feel like this is more relevant to the now. Because like I said, we're losing our youth. It's a disconnect between the youth and the adults, and the youth and a lot of different aspects in life. And I feel like we maybe you say don't know how to raise the youth anymore, or we're confused, or we don't have the guidance. So I'm glad that you came here today with The Adventures of Pumpkin Jackson, because I feel like everybody should go get this book. And not even just get this book, I feel like people should reach out to Ms. Glenda and pick your brain. Young mothers, seasoned mothers, new mothers. There's a lot of new mothers out here that don't have any role models or guidance. They're looking to their peers. There's not a lot of people left like you, Ms. Glenda. You're a gem, and you're needed. This book is needed. Your education is needed. And as a young mother myself, a single mother of 3, I appreciate what you taught me today, because I'm raising 2 young black men. I'm also raising a little young African-American girl. So, it's a lot of odds, but there's a lot of positives too.
Right.
What's the one thing you loved about writing this book?
The one thing I loved, it brought me back to my youth. And let me see, about 2 years ago, my best friend in high school, she was turning 50, and her sister kept asking her, what do you want? And she said, you know what, I think I want a Bamberg, Germany high school reunion / 50th birthday party.
Okay.
So I went to 2 high schools, one in Germany and one in Fort Knox, Kentucky. We met in Georgia. And for her 50th birthday party, there was probably about 80, but probably about 40 of us from high school in Germany. Some of us we hadn't seen in 30 years. We got back together and we reminisced. And a lot of them supported me. They were like, hey, is that me in the book? Oh. And I said, hey, you never know. And
buy the book. Read it.
Read it. So it brought me back to my youth.
In a good way.
In a good way. And I think as adults, we sometimes forget what it's like to be young
That's true.
to be young.
You get so in a thing like, you know.
And even though Pumpkin is an African American girl, we kind of made her look like our daughter. There's a group of girls. One girl's from Jamaica in the book. There's Latinos. There's a mix.
It's a versatile.
mixture. You might I might know it. I do let a little of it come out in the book, and I'm planning on a series. I'm in the process of writing another one. Yes.
The Adventures of Pumpkin Jackson 2?
We're just gonna go on, and so the next one is gonna be about he said, she said.
Ooh. Well, before you get out of here, let me get a little glimpse of that. Give us a little glimpse of the he said, she said. Because, he said, she said is a very dangerous game.
It's a very dangerous game. And when I did the first book, if I can say, for Amazon, I thought it was a children's book, but they actually put it under self-help and communication.
Absolutely.
And I was like, oh, okay, so I got taught something.
Right.
Because it taught the kids, speaking about handling things in a positive way.
Right, right.
So I said, look at this come full circle. Communication was my first major. He said, she said, boy and girl. Girls like one boy.
Right.
Girls begin to get upset because they like the same guy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he said this. No, you said this. And I hear that a lot.
Right.
My daughter comes home from middle school. We hear it. And now children are getting a little bit more cattier in earlier ages. We're starting to see it more at school, in the elementary level.
In elementary school?
In elementary school, we're starting to see the girls, get a little bit more snippy at each other than they used to. I'm like, wait a minute. The times are changing. They're exposed to so much more.
And it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
At this point, it's really ridiculous. So he said, she said.
Yes.
Is the next series.
It's the next series.
All right. When you get that series, before you do anything, I want you to come back. We
got
to talk about that series because
yes.
I like everything that you got going on, Miss Glenda, and I feel like this book and everything that you're about to go forward with the series is going to help us. It's going to help us as parents. It's going to help the youth. And I feel like that parents, you guys should get next to Miss Glenda, and she's going to tell you where to find the book. And you guys should read this with your child.
Yes, it's an easy read. I'm a little bit more. I have more courage, so in my next book, I would have more. But you can find this at Amazon.com.
Amazon.
BarnesandNobles.com.
Whoop whoop. That's how you know it's real. When it's in Barnes and Nobles, it's real.
So Barnes and Nobles, we can get it for you in 3 days. And anytime you want to contact me, I'm on Facebook.
Absolutely.
And we usually have some on hand. We do book readings in schools, churches, for Girl Scout groups, any group.
Well, I'm going to challenge you.
Yes.
Miss Glenda, I really want you to have a community day or a community night. Me and you are going to sit and talk. I want to challenge you. Maybe we'll call it Parents Night Out, where we can get the parents to bring their children to do a reading time. Make everybody sit down Indian style and get a book and we read it together and see what we learned about it. Because, a lot of people don't read no more.
Reading, yeah. And eventually, books, they're saying, or I hope not, because I love that tangible feeling in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
You have the nooks, and people, just like I said, want things instantly. We listen to a lot of audio,
Mm-hmm.
but I hope reading doesn't ever go out.
Go away, because this is good. This is educational, it's fundamental, and it's good for the soul.
Yes.
Miss Glenda, you have been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Tonight on this show. Very educational, very inspiring. I already put it out there. When you get that second series started, before you even give it to Amazon, let me be the first to get you and get the tea before we drop it. But I want to be involved in these series, and I really feel like you should do a night where kids have to come, or parents can come with their children and really sit down and read these books. Not at home, in a setting. Let's see what we want. Let's see what everybody learned, what everybody got, what everybody gathered from this. From this book. This is very good. There's a lot of you may only know 10 or 20, but there's a lot of Pumpkin Jacksons out there. There's a lot of young people struggling right now with bullying. There's a lot of young people right now struggling with their mental health. There's a lot of people struggling, with their relationship with the community, their mom, their dad, their teachers. A lot of kids are acting out. They don't know who, what, when, where, why. And there's people like you and books like this that they need to, be able to read it. Like she said, this is an easy read. 1, 2, 3. How many pages is it? Not even 100 pages. So this is a good, quick read, and it's informative, and I like this. I appreciate you, Miss Glenda.
Thank you. This one is for you. This is for you. And if I may,
I love this job.
this is for you and your mother.
She don't need it. She don't need it. Whatever it is, she don't need it. Look, I'm taking it back from Miss Glenda. Miss Glenda, what we?
You've got some sugar body scrubs, and I just want to say thank you for all you do in the community.
She don't need it. She don't need it. Oh my goodness, Miss Glenda, you make these too?
I do.
Wait a minute. So you're a book author, you're a teacher, and you're also into the creative body, original, organic, or?
All natural body scrubs, yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
Now listen, this is very important because, black don't crack. These things right here, why are they so good for your skin? Because everybody say natural is good. Why is natural really good?
It's made with olive oil, and the sugar exfoliates the dead skin. And what a lot of people are finding out now, what we've known for years, we had to, especially, depending on our melanin.
And our melanin, right.
Right. The oils is what keep you, like, I have very oily skin, but I don't have any wrinkles.
Right.
So, it's okay.
It's all right.
It's all right.
Now, do you set up tables?
I do.
Vending tables and things like that. Listen, if you guys have any events coming up, please reach out to Ms. Glenda. I want her book set up at your event as well as her body scrubs. So please, I'm sure she will not have a problem coming up to your event. I think this is amazing. I think you should go on the yacht with this.
Let me tell you, I just did it for one, and it's taken off like crazy. I didn't know you were going to pull it out, but
sure did. What she does is a game? Hold on.
Creamsicle.
Hold on. Wait, hold on, Miss Glenda. Help me out, Miss Glenda. Help me out. All right. Ooh.
That's my top seller.
Oh my! This really smells like that popsicle, that creamsicle.
It's orange vanilla.
Now, wait, when you say bite, I'm supposed to do this in the shower?
Do it in the shower. Or after you wash your hands and scrub it on underwater. Rinse it off, and the olive oil will still be on it.
And this scent will remain all day?
This scent, it's a light scent.
It's a light scent?
Yes.
Okay.
It's essential oils.
Okay.
Light scent. And you can always, depending on the texture, you can always add more olive oil to it.
So this is all you make is just body scrubs?
I make a lot. I paint. I make tote bags. My dream is, right now we're working on, after I even before I retire, actually, we want to open up like a boutique or a gift shop.
Absolutely.
Yes.
What's the name of your business?
Right now it's going to be, these are fresh oil body scrubs, but the business is going to be Room 816.
Room 816. Why Room 816?
That was my first dorm in college at University of Louisville. 8th floor, room 16.
You know what? Everything that you do has a significant meaning. That's how you know it's destined to happen. Because you don't just make up stuff. You don't do stuff. Everything has a distinctive prestige meaning in your life. You're amazing.
Thank you. God has given it to me, and without him I would be nothing. So I just, I like to theme. I'm very visual. I theme everything, and so it can have meaning.
This is why I do this show like that. I love Reporting Live 845 because I get next to new artists, new everything, but then I get to meet extraordinary people, especially women. I love women in business. I love women of power. Miss Glenda, you are one of them. You're very inspirational.
Thank you.
Sitting with you, I've learned a lot about myself, about being a parent. I'm also a mother of a child that's autistic. So I've learned a lot from you today, and I'm sure the viewers learned a lot. And I'm ready to sit under you and get next to you and see what else I can learn from you as a businesswoman, as an entrepreneur, as a book writer, just as a pillar. Before we get out of here, I want you to shout people out. Again, tell them where they can get your book. Tell them where they can get or how to order your body scrubs, because this melanin got to stay how it got to stay. And anything else you want to know? Any shout outs?
Okay, first of all, I have to give a shout out to my husband, Vincent Crawford, who drives me nuts, but he pushes me to be greater.
Can I jump in on that? Shout out to your husband too, because your husband ran down. Shout out to Mr. Vincent. He ran down. Moochie, I need my wife on your show. Then he see me in Black Vanilla. I said I need my wife on your show. Then he came my inbox. So what's the date for my wife on your show? So shout out to Mr. Vincent for that. I love that guy.
To my publisher Felicia Hodges, who is absolutely wonderful.
Yes.
To my parents, Betty and Billy, for without you, this wouldn't even be possible. My daughter, Alexandria. And just the community. Again, you can find my book on barnesandnobles.com, amazon.com. You can contact us on Facebook, The Adventures of Pumpkin Jackson, and Fresh Oil Body Scrubs. You can message me.
Just message you.
Just message me.
And I might have to do a demonstration tonight with the sickles and all of that on my body, and as my melanin is glistening, because you know it's summertime, so we gotta glisten.
Summertime,
yes. And you know you look good, Miss. You look very good for your age. I know you did tell us a little bit. People don't like to tell their age, but you look amazing. God has been good to you. You can see it. And your lifestyle, just how you look, how you carry yourself. Miss Glenda, we love you. I appreciate you taking your time to come all the way down just to sit with little old me at Reporting Live 845. I will be sure to share, and don't forget, Miss Glenda will be back with The Adventures of Pumpkin Jackson Part 2. He said, she said. But what was really said is the question. Miss Glenda, you've been amazing. Thank you so much for coming. Make sure you guys follow her on Facebook. Do you have any Instagrams or Twitter?
I do have Instagram, Twitter. It's the same.
Twitter's the same?
Yep.
Okay. So make sure you guys follow her and get involved. And please go support The Adventures of Pumpkin Jackson, the children's book. It's available Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Go get this book. You already know this is Reporting Live 845, straight 845 radio, building our own from the ground up. Everybody have a blessed night.